Welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew,
My name is Emily. I finally
and
found Andrew in television land,
where I've been
somewhere between
abandoned,
somewhere between Skinamax and USA's Up All Night.
right there on the lazy Thames. Um, Women with some pajama cases. That was a plot point in the show we
I
hopefully
know,
both just watched.
I know. I did watch it, and I couldn't quite understand what they were saying, and I didn't care enough to turn on the captions, and I don't get the
Or
reference. So
or British, getting this anti-British vibe off Emily here. Okay. So we're talking about Duck Patrol episode 6, the penultimate episode entitled River Rage.
penultimate, it's almost
Penultimate,
over.
there's
Oh my
one
God,
more.
our long national nightmare is almost over, folks.
Well, okay. Emily. Um,
What is Emily
okay.
doing? Being amazing.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, so River Rage, it opens with David Tennant whining about having to do his job, and
No, no, I don't think he's actually whining about having to do his job. I think the dialogue is making the issue that they have just resolved that we do not know until right away or until right after the scene or at the end of the scene, I guess, make it seem more dire than it actually is.
it is,
They're burying the lead, as
they
it
are
were.
burying the lead, but it is buried under David Tennant whining.
But they're also talking about how much damage water can do, uh, kind of the horrific things that one sees on the boat patrol, the duck patrol, that type of.
And what are they referring to? But a pajama case that is shaped like a stuffed animal of great size.
Yeah, it's a duck. It's a duck.
A
And
duck.
it has, I mean, it looks pretty good for a stuffed animal that's been in the river for some unknown amount of time.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's not like a dead body,
No.
which is
No,
what
it's not.
I mean. I wasn't expecting it because it's this show. I was not expecting a dead body, but that's what they were making it sound like.
Yep. Then what happez?
They get back to shore. Shore. They get back to their office
Office.
where Ollie and Taz, I think.
No, this is
No,
Stan. This is
Stan.
Stan, and I double checked. His wife is played by the same actress who plays her in the pilot, so they are
Okay.
they're into continuity, and you just show no appreciation.
Okay. So he talks. Good.
Yeah.
Um, so they are eating, making jokes about Ollie being fat. Ha ha ha. And does Marilyn come in before or
Marilyn
after
comes in before
Prof?
Sarge.
Prof and Darwin.
Prof and Darwin are there first because
Okay.
Marilyn says, Darwin, I was calling to you. Why didn't you answer me? To which he says, uh, well, I thought the wind just sounded like your voice, and it was calling my name because I always dream about you calling my name, Marilyn. And everybody in the office is looking at him. And Marilyn's like, huh, I wonder what he means by that. Obviously, nothing. Let's move on. So, why is she even there? Oh, she's there to
She's there to
give.
deliver a letter to uh the boss guy who's an ineffectual
Yes.
loser, um because she's sick of getting skipped over for promotion, even though there's only been one time that we've seen that she's been skipped over for promotion, and she wants to put a letter of recommendation in his hand because she can't trust the dumb men who work that she for some reason wants to work for with. He's
Which will come up later. as women support women later on, we will get to discuss. There's a lot of women supporting women in this
A
episode
lot.
that Emily is going to have a lot of really touching commentary on. Okay, so Sarge shows up and he's whining more than usual, and Prof figures out it's because he's actually assigned to a shift. And Prof says, well, you're too sick to work. You should take it easy, maybe some light fishing. To which Hero says, that's bullshit. He's not sick. Why are we letting him goof off? And they ignore him and they put Marilyn on patrol with Hero because she happens to
Marilyn
be there.
volunteers,
Yes.
and Darwin's like, no way. I'm not letting these two go off together because he is such a hunk, which is another plot
Major
point
plot point.
in this. He is such a hunk, and if she goes off with him, she will be swept into his arms. And I think she even says something as Darwin is excused from his volunteering because he was just on patrol, and Marilyn says something like, "All right, try to keep all your clothes on this time."
Yeah.
And then Taz approaches from the side and says something
Nope.
like,
Taz is still banging away, isn't he?
"Is he?
At the or wait, did Taz come
We
back with them? Taz came back with them. We've missed a scene
we missed a scene.
because they stop at the
Very
lock.
important."
They stop at
Yes.
the lock, and we probably haven't discussed this at, at length enough, but Taz's lady friend, his married lady friend, is the lock keeper. She opens and closes the lock on the river, and
They're busy
they're late.
banging.
They're too busy banging for her to open the lock, which
Oh,
Prof
excuse me.
whines about.
This is cozy, so they're hugging.
Yes, flushing for the newspaper a little great and something else, not hugging. So
Little slap and a tickle.
yes, so Taz goes back with them, and then
Yeah.
Taz says to Darwin,
She was just
"Well,
kidding.
why would she be interested in that guy when there's a hunk of man meat like you, David Tennant? Though you're no Matt Smith." Okay. Oh. What? What?
What? What?
What? What? It's not my favorite doctor. Um,
Not mine either.
okay. God, I could get you like play doctor with me, Doctor Matt Smith t-shirts. Oh,
I would burn
oh.
them. I would send a video burning them.
Touch me with your log.
Gross.
Close encounters from the third kind alien figures, Matt Smith. It's okay because you're really rich and you think the wokes are ruining things too. So
Who's that?
Matt
Matt?
Smith said something terrible. Like everybody's just like, "Oh, he sucks." Oh, okay. And it's like,
Okay.
gee,
Cool.
him dressed up for this didn't convince you that he sucked. Interesting. Okay, so then what happens? Do they go out on patrol then and find the lady?
Yes. So Marilyn and Hero go out on patrol, and they happen upon a woman, Mrs. I wanted to say Cunningham. It's not Cunningham. I just texted it to you because I
Calloway?
let. Yes, she.
Where are you texting it to me? I don't know what you're talking
Coolidge,
about.
Mrs. Coolidge.
I thought it was, are you sure? Did you check the
Uh,
credits?
I didn't check the credits.
Um,
But this woman is going crazy. We see them pulling up, and then suddenly a dog flies into Marilyn's arms, which is pretty dark considering if Marilyn hadn't been there, the dog could have landed in the boat and broken something or died, or landed in the water and drowned.
I've
Whatever.
already talked about how the British do not give a shit about animals.
And then other things come flying over
Or,
some
oddly enough,
hedge.
Indian people. Or, oddly enough, African people. It's amazing. All the people and animals that British people do not care about when you
Oh,
think about it.
yeah,
Just
pretty
gonna say
amazing.
it is. Yes. So now they then go around this hedge. Now, Emily probably didn't acknowledge the mise en scène of this sequence, but
I did not.
they are filming on the cheap because this lady ostensibly lives on a private island with a nice house, and we never see the house, and the island looks like it's a strip of land along the river that they're filming on.
Yeah,
It's only an island if you look at it from the water. What's that from?
I don't know.
This was not a shark attack. It's a stakeout reference starring Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, I'm sorry I missed that. Award-winning performance, I'm sure, from both of them.
Young Aiden Quinn's in it. You might like it.
I like him. Yeah.
Yeah, because you objectify men, as we will discuss with Hero in a little bit. I don't need to see pictures. Oh, God. What's this? Okay, thank you. Okay. So Emily just sits here during record looking at dudes. That's what she does.
No,
Ah,
that's just my lock screen on my phone.
you were literally sitting there staring at it for a while.
I wasn't. I was looking up the Matt Smith controversy. I wasn't just
What,
staring at it, playing
what,
with
what did he
myself.
say? What stupid thing did he say?
The only thing I saw was from like September. He was talking about how people shouldn't need trigger warnings to go to the theater because it's
Yes.
all about the human experience or something.
Yes,
And
that's
part of
what,
the human experience is being re-traumatized,
yes.
right?
I mean, that's what I think when watching his magnificent performance in Terminator 5. I
There's
don't
not a
remember what's
Terminator
the,
5.
there's a Terminator 6, dude.
I've never
Yeah.
seen a Terminator.
I mean, that's fine. You're fine.
That
I mean, in hindsight, it's like two's good, but it's not worth you
that
know.
reaction though was perfect. You were
Mm.
mid-sentence and you stopped and your head tilted a little bit and you made a very quick judgment to not go into it. It was great.
It's not like Beverly Hills Cop or something, okay? It's not like you're missing out on part of the human experience that Matt Smith has tried to tell you about
You'll
by
be
not
glad
seeing
to
a
know
Terminator movie.
I've written in my will that my
Yeah.
husband is to make me watch Beverly Hills Cop on my deathbed. So that's the only way I'm going to watch it.
Not even if Andy Kindler tells you to at length
No,
multiple times
no,
in a series of different cameos
no,
with costumes.
no.
Okay. Hater. Moving on. So, yes, so they meet this woman. She's upset because her husband's down at the pub again. Now, he's down at the pub. He's down at the pub that we all know. We
Yes.
do not meet the husband. He never figures in. It's irrelevant, other than he has stranded her there on this island in apparent luxury that we do not get to see because the show's cheap. Worst tries to kill
And
his dog.
she tries to kill the dog, but she's also just ranting and raving about being left alone on this island while her husband is gallivanting around. So they only have one boat.
Gallivanting at that shitty riverside bar, though, let's be real. I mean,
But leaving
nobody
her there alone,
leaving her there.
isolated,
Yes,
even though she's got an adorable dog on an island.
that's his dog
It's
that she
his
has to
dog,
take care
whatever.
of.
And I knew it was coming. I did not expect it from Marilyn, but at some point she is described as being hysterical.
Yep.
And
Calm down, Mrs. Coolidge. You're hysterical.
I also anticipated um what we didn't actually see, but Marilyn's kind of point about like being able to reason and talk her down and like fix the problem rather than what actually happens. Hero throws the woman over his shoulder, literally, and takes her inside the house.
No, he takes her into the boat.
Into the boat? Okay.
They fucking arrest her or something. Yes. We don't get the follow up to this. Instead, we cut to the bar
Yeah.
where it's one of Emily's
Marilyn.
favorite scenes because
So
Marilyn is talking to Val.
Marilyn's talking to Val about what she suspects the problem is. I don't know, island isolation disease or something where people just go a little bit bonkers if they're isolated for too long. And it has to do with the island. And then there's some goof about being um, stranded on a desert island where Val says, oh, at least you get 8 records, a Bible, and the complete works of Shakespeare. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Probably the funniest line in this whole
Show.
episode, the whole show. Um, and then Marilyn asks about having Prof as a boarder in her pub slash inn because, as we might recall from previous episodes, he was kicked out of his home um, that his ex-wife was selling. Yeah. And Val makes some jokes about how he's a good barmaid, making him earn his keep with some slight innuendo.
Very slight.
Very, very
Um,
slight innuendo about rummaging around in the basement and doing
we
some
had
other.
not reached the point in British television yet where people in their 50s like to shag. We'd be many years from that at this point. But
Just
what
hug.
Emily,
Just hug.
just hug, what Emily's leaving out is that David Tennant spends this entire scene staring at Marilyn. He's sitting 2 seats away, jaw ajar, staring at her.
And the other half of this conversation is her complaining that Hero didn't actually resolve the situation. He stopped the woman from being hysterical, but his brute force did nothing to help ultimately the fact that this woman is being isolated on the island. And she is going to find a way to fix it. And then Val is like slowly creeping in some like, tell me more about Hero, the big muscular brute. Tell me more. Um, Meaning that she wants to hear the stories about the handsome man. Um, and what we've also missed in previous scenes is that, and it comes back in this scene at some point, Prof is becoming jealous of Hero,
It's
increasingly
in,
jealous.
I believe it's in this scene because he gets back with some beer and Hero comes in and Val's like, oh, there he is. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I
yeah.
want in my cooch. And he's just like, what? I'm wonderful. So, yes, I see. Thank you. Um, hey, I don't need to look at David Krumholtz sitting on the toilet. That's so fucking weird that that's your wallpaper.
Hey,
Also,
you want to bring up toilets? You're the one who wanted to film me on the toilet, okay? My husband's very upset.
okay, everybody email Mr. Emily at onesiespod.com and let him know that you support our advertising campaign. Um, okay, so also in this scene, the boys, the other boys from Duck Patrol, are encouraging Darwin that Taz, I believe, is
Yes,
telling Darwin that he
Taz.
needs to talk to Marilyn.
So what happens is Taz's lady friend, who he's been hugging when her husband is
Mm,
away, comes in and
that's
sits
right.
down next to Darwin, in between Darwin and Marilyn. And something happens where it looks like David Tennant's making a move on her.
It
And
doesn't.
and
They're just
Taz
sitting,
sees it from a
yeah,
distance and like jokingly is like, get away from
yes.
my woman. Pulls her aside. They're gonna go hug some more somewhere. And pops back into the scene to be like, haven't you asked her out yet? Ask her out. Ask her out. Just ask Marilyn out. Just do it. Shit or get off the pot here. And also we see a
Hence
scene
why we
where
have toilet-based advertising proposals. Continue.
and we also see here um while Marilyn is complaining about Hero being a big brute who doesn't use his brain, Val sort of sees Darwin sitting there gawking at Marilyn and says, oh, not all men are like. She's trying to
Yes.
encourage this match, even though they are all in a position. I mean, Val probably more than any of their coworkers because that is crossing a line professionally, but to set them up on a date, like set them up. He's too chicken shit. She's
Marilyn
too
has shown
headstrong.
no sign of being
No,
romantically interested in any gentleman or lady on this program as of
no,
yet.
no.
And she spends all of her time being sexually harassed by her male coworkers.
Hmm.
So, um, a very progressive show. So then there is a scene where Darwin talks to Prof and Taz about true love. I don't know if it's before this or after this.
It's
But it
after this. He's
okay.
walking with Taz, and Taz is like, "True love doesn't exist, man." And he's like, "I'm in love. I'm in love with Marilyn." And he's like, "Marilyn's not in love with you. That's not real love, you
And
ding
then
dong."
Darwin's
And
like,
then
but
they talk
Prof
about
has real love, and Prof's like,
Prof
no, I
has real
don't.
love. And then Prof is like, "What are you talking about? I've been married twice. I've been burned twice. Love isn't real. Val is convenient and fun."
She gives good back rubs with liniment oil.
Ugh,
Oh
gross.
yeah, the great British lover. I can't imagine why the whole entire country of France is raised to screw married British women and laugh about it later. Okay. So we get an interlude with Marilyn and Mrs. Coolidge at Mrs. Coolidge's old house. Again, we're shooting on the cheap.
So
So
you
we
get a
basically,
shot of a house from across the street and a shot of the two ladies from the other side of the street, and that's it.
it's very busy, a lot of traffic, and there's no yard.
Right.
And so Marilyn's like, maybe you're just feeling trapped and you need a fucking boat. How about that? And Mrs. Coolidge is like, right on. Okay. Where the hell do we? Okay, now I know the episode is entitled River Rage, everybody. Still waiting for some of that rage.
Well, we
Um,
got we got Mrs. Coolidge raging.
you don't really think that's what they're referring to, do you?
Yeah, I think that's like the island isolation thing. I think they may turned it into river rage because it more closely associates with the theme of the television show, which is them being on a river patrolling river
Like
rage rather than
ducks.
island.
Okay. Um, I'm
I don't know.
can't remember what happens next. So, are they back at the pub
They're
or
back at the
something?
pub for
Oh
some reason.
God! Oh God! Okay.
Oh, the dancing.
There's the dancing, but before the dancing, Sarge comes in and says, I need somebody to help me for something, building a night blind. So they give Sarge the stuffed animal, and he's like, you'll be a good partner. And it goes, that's it. That's the end of
That's
this.
the
But it's
end.
just like, what a great setup for
Or
some
nothing.
comedy. Um, but yes, so they're back at the bar, they're out back. This is where Stan's wife comes back, and we also meet Ollie's wife. This is where we get the big hashtag feminism, hashtag ladies stick together, hashtag we understand the assignment, where Marilyn meets Ollie's wife and is like, yeah, they're really sexist to me at the office. And she's like, of course they are, you stupid bitch. You shouldn't be fucking working, you dumb slag. And she's like, what?
I loved my favorite part was when she was like, a woman alone on a boat with a man is only going to stir shit up, and men can't control themselves. So, two men is just natural. Two men on a boat is just natural
I mean, it is for fucking
in the Navy.
in the Navy and the
Which put a
pirates.
put a pin in that because I had questions about the last scene and what kind of party that was.
Okay, right on.
But yeah, so there's this big fight and Marilyn is like kind of left hanging and she's like, "I thought women were supposed to stick together." And she like kind of goes away from that a little deflated because Ollie, who in this episode has been particularly bad at harassing her at work, it's his wife. And even though the wife says men can't control themselves, they blame it on Marilyn. It's because she's present. I bet you
Maybe
Ollie
shouldn't be dressed
calls
that
his
way.
wife. I know we heard him call his wife a goddess, or sarcastically, but I bet he calls her mother.
I mean, your husband calls you
Technically,
mother.
not
It's
to
really
be.
fucking uncomfortable.
He's technically
I
not
thought you
allowed to
were
be
I thought
alone
you
with
were a
women.
nurse when
He's not allowed to be alone with women,
when he was like Mother Emily, and I was like, what? I didn't know she was in the convent. That's weird.
let alone such high ranking.
Glass houses, Emily, glass houses. Okay. So, but meanwhile, during all of this, Stan and his lady have been dancing because they're all going to go dancing, is what this is. And then Stan and his lady get into an accident. They like fall over a chair. So that means that every time Stan has been somewhere, he's gotten into an accident on the show. And I believe he's on next episode, so we'll see another accident.
Yeah, I think he's on all the episodes,
Now, what's her face? Mrs. Coolidge arrives in her canoe. She got a canoe
which is actually a
and
kayak when we
a
see it.
kayak, sorry. Um,
They call it a
and
canoe, though. I don't
they
know.
do, okay.
Yeah.
And Marilyn's like, you got a canoe. This is perfect. You can get around. It's so great. And she's like, shut up. Where's
Wait.
Hero? I want to fuck him.
At this point, though, Marilyn has been talking to um, Prof about
Hmm.
how Hero used
Yes.
brawn to do this, but what he didn't know is he didn't actually resolve the situation. And I put myself out there and tried to use psychology and use my brains to help solve the problem that this woman was having by encouraging her husband to buy her a boat. So she was not so isolated and she could come and go as she pleased. Put a pin in that too, because later on, Prof essentially steals this speech word for word without giving her any credit for it and the sort of mentality. And then Mrs. Coolidge comes in. She wants to see Hero. And
Nobody's
Marilyn's
ever
like,
picked me
oh,
up like that before.
and Marilyn's like, oh, you got a boat. That's so great. Aren't you glad that I helped convince your husband to get you a boat? And she's like, I just want Hero to throw me over his shoulder again, like a little rag doll, because he's a hunk. And that made me feel like a tiny, petite young lady again. And Marilyn's like, no, but I was just telling Prof that I helped your husband get you. But she's like, I have a jar of chutney, homemade chutney for Hero. Shut up. Tell me where he is. I was told he would be here. And then Hero comes into the room and she throws herself at him essentially. And that's, I think, the end of that scene where Marilyn is just sort of like left hanging.
Again. Now, we missed it, but the scene where David Tennant in the bar is supposed to ask her out, he's finally very rudely is like, I need to see you. I want to go out, take you out right now. And she's like, oh, fine, let's go, Darwin. What do you need? Help tying your shoes again or something? We never
It
get
was
any
help pumping
resolution
up
to
your
that.
bike tire. It was pumping up his bike tire, which
We
again,
never get any resolution to that.
we never get any resolution to that, but it's also demoralizing, infantilizing, emasculating to Darwin.
However, if you've ever seen a grown man get yelled at about his bike by his wife, it does track. Pretty fun to watch
Well, I
somebody
did
get
have
yelled
your
at.
wife record that, her yelling at you about your bike tire, just so I could watch it over and over. I gave it to my husband. He watches it
Cool.
on the reg.
I don't know what that means. Um, so then there's a call that comes in, right? This is it. That's over. The
Yeah.
episode's over at this point. I
So
think we
Hero and Hero and Prof are together on shift, on patrol. Prof
we
is falling
might
asleep. We did
there
miss
might
another scene.
there's like some scene between Val and Prof where she's like, even though you're old, uh, you know, and I want Hero to fucking ride me like I'm a, motorcycle. Um, I still like you, Prof. And he's like, my bow legs are better than his muscles any day, or something.
Um, so they're on patrol together, Prof and Hero, and Prof is falling asleep. It's at night, and Hero wakes him up. I don't know if there's a call or if they just hear a ruckus and approach a rather large boat with some thumpity thumpity 90s club music playing. And we don't get really good shots.
That sums
Kind of
up this show. We don't get really good shots.
it kind of seems like there's like a brawl happening, but like the noises kind of sound like it, but we never actually see it. We see a
No,
really far away shot where there's a boat full of people, and then we see the interior of the boat where there's a bar, and I don't know, 50 men just listening to loud thumpa thumpa music in the 90s in a boat with no women.
Boat trip or whatever it
Seems
was
kind of
called.
weird. Seems kind of weird, especially because nobody's in a fight, like, which is what I thought. They're just dancing on a boat. But anyway, Prof and Hero go in. They're gonna fight him. They're gonna fight him. Prof is like, I'll take, six. We'll take six at a time, and we'll beat him in no time. And they go in, and the two men who have lines are like, "Yeah, you want to fight us? Is that what you want to do?" And then Prof repeats almost word for word, if not exactly word for word, all the things Marilyn was saying about using your brain, and we're just going to have a beer, and we're going to have fun with these guys, right? And Hero's like, we can't have a beer. We're still on the clock. And Prof is like, nope, it's 11:05. We are off the clock. Still shouldn't be drinking and driving a boat. Whatever. Apparently the rules go out the window. Who polices the police, Andrew?
I mean, it's all propaganda.
So they're driving away in the boat after having beer. Hero seems like he's actually drunk. And this is where Prof repeats word for word, like, you don't use your brawn, you got to use your brain sometimes, you big dummy. And repeats what Marilyn had said word for word. And then there's the credit scene, the post credit scene, which you can talk about.
The post-credit scene is Mrs. Coolidge rowing up on her canoe with an even bigger bottle of salsa for um, Hero, and he's like, "You shouldn't be out on the river at night," and she's like, "Arrest me and strip search me with this big
Give me a
jar of
full
chili."
cavity search.
Yeah. So yeah, that was an episode. There is also, what else did we forget? There's no resolution to the fucking noisy boat.
Nope.
They have the beers. We go back to the exterior and they go get in their boat and drive away. None of it matters. And I was like, this is Emily's favorite episode. It's got such a nice lyrical, cozy structure, and it's got such a realistic characterization of how women treat one another. So there you go.
Oh, hey, as a woman, I am not going to argue.
Well,
So, well, I guess that was River Rage, folks. The next episode, should you choose to return,
wow.
is called The Siege of Mallory Wharf. Um, there is reminiscence of previous, heroism on the part of Sarge and Prof. And yeah, that's about it. Any special guest stars? They just relived some sort of. I hope there's like flashbacks or something, but I don't think. Nobody that I recognize is in this next episode, but it's our last one. That's very. Oh, Andrew, I hope you don't get lost in television land again. But thank you
I
for
hope not.
watching, and thank you for talking with me today. Next week we will be back with the final episode of Duck Patrol, The Siege of Mallory Wharf, and I will have a big announcement about episode or season 16. Very exciting. Andrew, see you in television land. Stay away from the USA Up All Night. Come on. You're not 15 anymore.
Only I could do a Gilbert Gottfried impression. See you in television land, Emily.
Bye.